My name is Hope Carter. I'm 32 years old and live in Portland, Oregon. I've always been proud of the fact that I've never missed a single payment. My credit score has been in the excellent range for over a decade. In my world, everything had to be clear, transparent, and under control. Until that Monday morning. I was standing in the kitchen waiting for my coffee, getting ready for a meeting with my biggest client of the quarter, when my phone buzzed. A notification from the bank I'd been with for over 8 years. Mortgage payment. $38,219. Amount. $3,912.47. Due in 6 days. I nearly dropped the phone. What mortgage? I only had a small car loan. Never bought a house. Never applied for a mortgage. I opened the banking app, hoping it was a glitch, but it wasn't. Under active loans, a new entry had been added 7 weeks ago. A mortgage loan for $685,000. I felt a chill down my spine. I immediately called the bank's hotline. The woman on the line had a calm voice, but every word she said made my skin crawl. The loan was fully processed through our online system under the name Hope Carter, using the Social Security number, income documents, and digital signature on file. I barely whispered, "What's the property address?" There was a brief pause. Then she read each word clearly. 29 West, Willow Ridge, Lakeview District. I couldn't breathe. I knew that area well. White picket fences, arched gates, rose gardens, and homes that go for no less than $750,000. And most importantly, that was the neighborhood my younger sister Eliza had been obsessed with for months. Every time we met, she would sigh dreamily, "You don't get it, Hope. Living there is the real dream. I just need one shot." That shot turned out to be me. I hung up, my hands still trembling. All of my personal information had been used to secure a massive loan. They even had my electronic signature. Who could have that kind of access? I didn't need to think long. The only person who had ever borrowed my laptop, knew my personal passwords, had once accidentally lost my wallet after dinner, only to find it 2 days later in the trunk of her car, was Eliza. I collapsed into a chair, memories flashing like they happened yesterday. Just last week, at my 32nd birthday party, Eliza had shown up late with a pricey bottle of Italian wine and hugged me tightly. While everyone was chatting, she leaned in and whispered, "You have no idea. Everything's about to change." I had assumed she was talking about a new relationship or maybe a job opportunity, but now I understood it was a warning, a signal I completely missed. I reopened my old messages and scrolled through the unread ones. There it was, an email from Eliza Carter, sent 3 days ago. Subject line, "Our first home," with a Google Maps link. I clicked. The address was exactly that, 1029 West Willow Ridge. The house was under my name. Back when I was a finance major at the University of Washington, I had a goal. By age 35, I'd have a 6-figure savings account, no student debt, no credit card balances, and I'd buy my first home with money I earned myself. I wasn't great at charming words like Eliza, but I knew how to plan, budget, and create value. I started working my sophomore year as a data entry assistant at an insurance firm. Later, when I joined Bendix Capital, I started building a client base, climbing steadily from junior analyst to personal investment advisor. I lived in a 2-bedroom apartment in the Nob Hill district. Nothing fancy, but every item inside was the result of weeks of price comparisons, discount hunting, and turning down Eliza-style vacations. And Eliza, she lived like money would magically appear if she just dreamed big enough. Since high school, she had trendy clothes, boyfriends with sports cars, while I relied on my bicycle and partial scholarships. She dropped out of college in her second year because it didn't feel right, and hopped from barista to event coordinator to style consultant, never staying more than 6 months. But Eliza was always the favored one. My parents, Tom and Celia Carter, said I was the stable child, no need to worry, while Eliza just needed more time to find her path. I remember it clearly. When Eliza was 19, she borrowed the secondary credit card my mom had issued for me. In just 3 days, she racked up over $700 buying jewelry from a Korean website. By the time I found out, she was already wearing one of the dresses to a friend's birthday party. "I thought you were letting me borrow it," she shrugged. I told Mom. She just sighed. "Come on, you're sisters. Don't hold grudges." Another time, when I was interning at a bank, I was denied access to an industry event because someone had already registered using my student ID. Later, I found out Eliza had used my name to get around the finance major requirement. She even downloaded one of my old presentations from a previous laptop to answer questions in case someone asked. That was when I tried to draw the line. I changed my passwords, used only my work email for anything important, and kept all personal documents locked in a small safe at home. I thought that would be enough. Until the night we had dinner at Rose and Pine, a cozy little Italian place near the St. John's Bridge. That night, Eliza said, "I'm thinking about going back to school for real estate. I really want to build something, like you." I had actually felt happy hearing those words. We drank wine, shared the mushroom gnocchi, and laughed like kids. When we left the restaurant, I realized my wallet was gone. I tore through my purse, checked the table, went back to the front desk. Nothing. Eliza said maybe I'd left it in the restroom. I reported the loss to the bank and applied for replacements. 2 days later, Eliza called, saying she just happened to find my wallet under her car seat and returned it in person. I thanked her, though I was skeptical. Now I know. I should have trusted that doubt. She hadn't just accidentally kept my wallet. She had copied my documents, saved photos of my driver's license and financial info, and used them to create a fake version of Hope Carter. So convincing, even the bank believed it. I'd look back on everything that had happened over the last 10 years. All the times things were taken, my name was borrowed, my trust exploited. They were just preludes to the ultimate con. Turning my identity into her dream home. What hurt most wasn't the financial breach. It was knowing the person who laughed with me over wine, who once shared secrets only sisters understood, was the same person who dug the hole and pushed me in. Without ever looking back. That night, I didn't eat. I turned on my desk lamp, sat upright in front of the computer like I was preparing for a major audit. Except this time, I was the victim. I accessed all 3 major credit bureaus and requested full credit reports. When the summaries appeared, I knew I had been right not to believe in coincidences. It wasn't just the nearly $700,000 mortgage. Within less than 6 weeks, 3 new credit cards had been opened under my name, with a combined balance of over $42,000. The spending list made me nauseous. Luxury furniture from a Pearl District showroom, high-end kitchen appliances, landscaping design fees, even a deposit for an event planning company. Every delivery address led to one place, 1029 West Willow Ridge. I printed everything, every receipt, every transaction. I needed evidence, not just for the bank, but to face the truth that was becoming clearer by the minute. I called Eliza. 3 rings, then straight to voicemail. I texted, "We need to talk. About the house, about the loan. Call me." No, I tried again. Then again. Nothing. A thought hit me. I called Mom. She picked up on the second ring, cheerful. "You're calling at the perfect time. I just printed the housewarming invites for Eliza. The house is finished. It's like a dream." I froze. "Housewarming party?" "Yes, this weekend. Eliza said she already sent you the invite. Maybe it went to spam?" "Mom, tell me the address of the new house." "West Willow something?" "Hang on, here it is. 1029 West Willow Ridge. Eliza said it's quiet, safe, near the park." "Hope, are you okay?" I hung up. I couldn't speak. My palms were sweating, my throat tight. Eliza hadn't just stolen a massive loan under my name. She was about to throw a party to flaunt it. I opened my inbox and searched Eliza. Just like Mom said, there was an email from 3 days ago. We got the house. Attached was a photo of a white two-story home with lavender-lined fences and glowing yellow lights and an invite. Come celebrate our first home, 1029 West Willow Ridge. Dress code, white and sun yellow. I had never felt more insulted. Every dollar spent on that house came from my reputation and my future. The credit score I guarded like treasure. The credibility I spent a decade building. She had used it like a tool to decorate her kitchen and install a double oven. I cried, not for the money, but because I no longer recognized the sister who used to share a bed with me as a child, who cried when I left home for college. Eliza used to be family. Now, who was she? I wiped my tears and placed all the documents into a folder. I called the one person I could trust, Sam Ruiz, my boyfriend and a legal expert in the insurance industry. His voice was steady and calm, as always. Hope, you need to file a fraud case immediately. It might not be enough for criminal charges yet, but identity theft on this level is serious. I need someone to help collect solid evidence, someone who knows the law and isn't afraid to dig deep. I've got someone, Sam said. His name is Elliot Granger. He's an independent investigator, dealt with plenty of cases just like this. I wrote down the contact and sent Eliza a short message. Meet with me, or meet with a lawyer. The next day, I called Elliot Granger, the private investigator Sam recommended. He used to work in financial fraud prevention in Seattle and now operated independently around Portland and Eugene. As soon as I mentioned mortgage identity fraud, Elliot offered to meet me that same day at a small cafe on Burnside Street. He didn't ask if I was sure Eliza was behind it. He just asked, "How far are you ready to go?" Elliot began by gathering everything I had, the credit reports, the housewarming email, the transaction records, and especially the history of times Eliza had access to my computer or personal documents. One detail made him pause. "Did you lose your wallet recently?" "About a month ago, after dinner with Eliza." "Did it contain your driver's license?" "Yeah." Elliot frowned. By the first link, identity theft doesn't go that smoothly without real ID documents. 3 days later, Elliot called again. His voice carried an unusual excitement. "I've got what you need." Eliza had taken her personal laptop to be repaired at a shop on Alberta Street 3 weeks earlier. According to the technician, she asked how to convert a handwritten signature into a digital one and merge document files without leaving an edit trail. No further explanation was needed. I knew exactly what she had done with my old income files and signature samples. Elliot had also obtained a security camera still from a bank branch. A blonde woman, wearing sunglasses, handing over documents at a teller window, signing paperwork. Her face wasn't fully visible, but the posture and build were unmistakable. It was Eliza. I printed every image. At the same time, I received a letter from First Charter Bank, confirming that the mortgage account had been opened from an IP address matching the home Wi-Fi registered under Eliza Carter. I gathered every document and called attorney Melanie Tran, Sam's former classmate, now working at a law firm specializing in civil fraud cases. Melanie sat silently through the 20-minute rundown. When I finished, she said plainly, "You're not just the victim of identity theft. This is organized fraud. And if you want to pursue it fully, you'll need patience. Because family isn't a courtroom, and tears aren't evidence." I had known that for a long time. Melanie advised me to prepare 2 paths. Criminal case file to press charges against Eliza for identity theft and property fraud. The lawsuit filed to demand repayment, property title transfer, and compensation for credit damage. But before either file was filed, Melanie urged me to evaluate the role of Eliza's husband, Gavin Mitchell. I had never trusted Gavin. He was charming, good-looking, but always gave off the vibe that the world owed him a business opportunity. He once launched a small restaurant chain in Beaverton that shut down within a year. He blamed the market and the staff. Sam had told me Gavin had a few unresolved tax issues. Sam quietly did some digging. 4 days later, he sent me a PDF with a message. "Gavin isn't innocent. The file contained records of consumer loans, declined credit card payments, and a canceled commercial advance due to excessive risk. The most damning was an email Gavin had sent to a former business partner. Eliza's working on getting money from her sister. She just has to talk soft. That girl trusts too easy. I clenched my phone. Not just Eliza. Gavin knew too. They had planned this, step by step, intentionally. When I returned to Melanie's office, I said clearly, I don't just want my name back. I want them to understand that consequences are real, and this time, no one's protecting them. Melanie nodded. Then let's begin. The pain was gone, drained, leaving behind a silence filled only with determination. From now on, I wouldn't send texts. I wouldn't beg. I would act. With the law, with truth, and with the integrity I'd protected for 32 years. Saturday afternoon, Portland was cloudy, but not enough to dim the upscale atmosphere Eliza tried to create for her housewarming party. I wore a simple black dress, unadorned but solid enough for the legal battle about to unfold among champagne and fairy lights. At my side were Melanie Tran, attorney, and Elliot Granger, investigator. No one carried weapons, just a heavy leather folder full of evidence. The mortgage contract, security camera stills, IP address logs, financial transactions, and a prepared complaint. From the end of the block, I could see the house, 1029 West Willow Ridge, shining exactly like the photos Eliza had sent. Ivory facade, glossy redwood door, neatly trimmed lavender on either side of the stone walkway. From the outside, it looked like a dream, except the dream had been built on my name. Elliot reviewed the mortgage documents. It stated that for property assessment purposes, the lender had granted temporary access and provided the lockbox code by the side door. Melanie entered the code, 9142. I held the key, and I used it, opening the front door with the legal key issued to Hope Carter, the rightful owner. At least on paper. Inside, the home looked like something from a design magazine. High ceilings, oak floors, a chandelier over the curved staircase. Cream walls, a dining table laid out with finger foods from a high-end local catering company. Every corner screamed wealth and artifice. We walked through the living room, open kitchen, and main hall. Elliot took pictures of everything. Receipts for the furnishings, the housewarming invite left on the table, a photo of Eliza and Gavin embracing by the fireplace, the same spot I used to imagine in my dreams. At exactly 4:42, the garage door opened. I stood upright in the center of the living room, holding the file tightly. Eliza walked in first, white off-shoulder dress carrying a box of macarons. Gavin followed, holding a wine box and a bottle of champagne wrapped in metallic paper. They were laughing. Until they saw me. Both froze. Gavin dropped the wine bag completely, eyes panicked like he'd just seen undercover cops. Eliza's eyes widened. Hope? How did you get in here? I kept my voice calm. With the key provided by the bank. To the owner. That's me. She gave a strained laugh. Are you joking? This is my house. Melanie stepped forward, her voice clear. No. This property is in the name of Hope Carter. And according to legal records, Miss Eliza Carter is occupying it unlawfully. Gavin went pale. Wait, Eliza, you told me the house was funded from your parents' joint investment account. Eliza didn't answer. She turned to me, her voice quieter but still trying to sound composed. You came here just to ruin my party? Are you jealous or something? I said nothing. I simply held out the folder and opened to the first page. A photo of Eliza at the bank teller's window, her face blurred but her build and hairstyle unmistakable. Elliot followed up. We have IP confirmation, footage from the computer repair shop where you asked how to edit PDF files, and browser history with searches like how to forge digital signature undetected. The doorbell rang. The first guests had arrived. Eliza shot me a desperate glance. You can't do this in front of my friends. I can't. I cut her off. What about me? What was I supposed to do when you stole my credit, my future? This is the consequence. And you need to own it. The front door opened. Guests began walking in. Laughter, congratulations, background music filled the space, until a single voice rang out through the room. My name is Hope Carter, and the house you're standing in is the result of identity fraud. Heads turned. Eliza didn't move. Gavin's breath caught as he stumbled backward. Melanie handed copies of the evidence to several key guests, Eliza's friends, Gavin's coworkers, and neighbors. Elliot said nothing, just observed and recorded their reactions. Eliza finally burst out. You've always been jealous. It's always hope this, hope that. I just wanted to live like you, for once. I held her stare, unwilling to give her more words. Because there was nothing enviable about having your own sister rip apart your reputation to fund a housewarming fantasy. After the party unraveled under the weight of gasps and awkward glances from those who once praised Eliza, I left that house carrying a full file folder and a silence that clung to me all the way to the curb. 3 days later, we held a formal meeting at Melanie's law office, where Eliza and Gavin were made to face actual consequences. No more emotional games, no more shallow explanations. Eliza sat slumped, no makeup, hair pulled back, like her life had aged light years in a matter of days. Gavin sat stiff, barely making eye contact. Melanie opened the meeting, her voice firm but measured. We've prepared all 3 options: criminal prosecution, civil litigation, or an out-of-court agreement. Hope will decide. I steadied myself. Even though I had braced myself, seeing Eliza across from me, with legal documents between us, still struck a strange chord. Not because I forgave her, but because I had once hoped she was someone else. I won't press criminal charges, at least not yet, I said slowly. But that doesn't mean I'm letting this go. Eliza lifted her head, eyes red but dry. I looked her straight in the eyes. You'll transfer the title of the house back to me immediately. You and Gavin have 30 days to vacate. Every transaction made using my identity must be itemized and repaid. Melanie placed the prepared documents in front of Eliza. A transfer of ownership form, a legal waiver of claims, a financial monitoring agreement, and a statement barring her from accessing any of my or our parents' bank accounts. I hadn't forgotten. The previous week, while tracing IP activity, Elliot found Eliza had silently logged into my mother's online bank account, precisely when Mom was in the hospital recovering from knee surgery and unable to check her phone for 3 days. No major transaction had occurred, but the fact alone showed how far she was willing to go. Gavin finally spoke. I didn't know Hope. I really thought the house was a gift from her parents' fund. If I had known Eliza used your identity, I would have... Melanie cut him off coldly. You signed as co-owner. You used credit cards opened under Hope's name. You bought expensive wine with a loan-back account. You may not have masterminded it, but you're not innocent. Gavin lowered his head. Eliza's hands shook as she picked up the pen. She wasn't steady, but I didn't intervene. She signed each page. No protests, no questions, no tears. Until the final page, an agreement for 12 months of therapy and financial supervision. She paused. You want to turn me into a criminal, don't you? I flipped the page instead. Melanie answered gently. We're not turning you into anything. You did that on your own. Once everything was signed, Eliza stood up and whispered like a breeze. I thought you'd forgive me. I straightened, offering her a look not of hatred, but of closure. Forgiveness doesn't mean blindness, and love doesn't mean staying silent while someone destroys your life. 1 week later, Eliza and Gavin moved out of the house. I changed the locks, cleared out the remnants of false luxury, and began the process of having the property appraised for sale. I didn't want to keep the place. Not because of its value, but because it was tied to the deepest cut in my life. Gavin filed for divorce shortly afterward. According to what my lawyer received, he claimed he could no longer live with someone who was willing to betray her own family for an illusion. As for Eliza, I don't know. I don't follow her on social media anymore. But my mom sent a single message after everything ended. I changed my password. This time, I really understand. I replied, I hope you understand, not for me, but for yourself. What I didn't expect was that the hardest part after everything wasn't the anger. It was the emptiness that followed once the anger was gone. The house on West Willow Ridge was appraised lower than when Eliza bought it due to a slowing market. I had to hold onto it for a few months, renting it short-term to cut my losses. Every time I signed a lease, I made it clear the owner was Hope Carter, no one else. The house became a kind of living lesson, not because it was beautiful, but because it symbolized boundaries. I used to think keeping distance from family was cruel. Now I know, sometimes, it's the kindest thing for both sides. During that time, I focused on rebuilding my credit. Melanie helped me work with all 3 major credit agencies, submitting documentation of the fraud, and requesting the removal of fake loans and credit cards from my financial history. The process took longer than I expected. It was over 6 months before my credit score began to recover. I enrolled in credit monitoring services and set every possible alert. Now, whenever someone tries to access my identity, I know within minutes. I didn't avoid therapy either. I used to think, I can manage my emotions, I'm strong. But when someone you once called blood lays hands on everything you built, the first thing you lose isn't money, it's trust in yourself. In my first session, I didn't talk much. I just told the story of Eliza, then sat in silence for a long time. The therapist asked, has she ever truly apologized? I answered, she apologized for getting caught. Nothing more needed to be said. 3 months after Gavin and Eliza finalized their divorce, I received a letter. No return address, just a familiar handwriting. Slanted, small, and neat. Eliza's. I almost tore it up, but I opened it. Inside was a handwritten note, 2 pages long. No excuses. No mention of the party, no mention of the house. She simply wrote that she was working part-time at a home goods store near Beaverton, had gone to 4 therapy sessions, and was trying to learn how to stop blaming the world every time life doesn't go my way. I don't expect forgiveness. I just want this time for change to come from action, not promises. I folded the letter, placed it on my bookshelf. I didn't reply, but I didn't throw it away. I don't know if Eliza has truly changed, but I do know that I'm no longer bound by the feeling that I need to save her. From now on, my responsibility is to myself. That July, I accepted Sam's proposal. No dramatic kneeling, no dazzling diamond, just a quiet evening on his apartment balcony, warm string lights, and 2 glasses of white wine. Sam said, I loved you before any of this happened, but watching you stand tall through all of it made me certain that if there's anything I want to build in life, it has to include you. I said yes, without hesitation. A week later, I signed the contract to buy a small 2-bedroom condo in the Fremont area. No decorative gates, no chandeliers, but from the balcony I could see rows of green trees lining a quiet street. I used part of the money I earned from selling Eliza's house as a down payment. The rest went into my emergency fund. Learning to trust simpler, more lasting things. My mother came for dinner on the first Sunday after I moved in. She didn't mention Eliza, didn't try to reconcile us or repeat that blood is still blood. We just ate, talked about work, and poured more tea like 2 women relearning how to live kindly toward others and themselves. Before she left, my mom paused at the door. You did what I never could, set a boundary, and kept it. Because in the end, what I truly reclaimed wasn't the house. It wasn't even my credit score. It was my agency. 9 months after I stood in Eliza's living room and said, This house is in my name. I walked into a different home. Smaller, humbler, but truly mine. The two-bedroom apartment sat on the third floor of a quiet residential building in northeast Portland. Its walls painted a calming olive green, the balcony overlooking a row of maples, turning red. There was no open kitchen like West Willow Ridge, no crystal lights, no grand staircase. But every tile, every cabinet handle had been chosen honestly, paid for with clean money and real effort. Sam and I got married in a small ceremony in a friend's backyard. No 7-meter dress, no extravagant reception. Just family, a few friends, candlelight, and a vow. Not to promise that everything would be perfect, but to promise we wouldn't run when it wasn't. My mother sat in the front row. She held my hand as I prepared to walk toward the wooden arch where Sam waited. There were no tears. Just the peaceful gaze of a mother who finally understood that loving one child doesn't mean sacrificing the other. 2 weeks after the wedding, I received another letter from Eliza. But this time, something was different. No familiar handwriting. The letter had been typed, printed, and signed. Clean, no frills. No hearts drawn in the margins or scribbled side notes like before. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I just want you to know. I'm still in therapy. I still work the night shift at Homeworks. I've stopped blaming our childhood, mom's expectations, or your success. I understand now. I made choices. You once said, love doesn't mean staying silent while someone destroys your life. I think about that sentence every week. It helps me understand why you had to do what you did. I hope that one day, even if we can't rebuild what we had, we can at least stand before each other without new wounds. Eliza. I read it over and over again. There were no excuses, no begging for another chance, just the acceptance of responsibility. Something Eliza had never done in the 32 years of her life. I left it unanswered, but still intact. I folded it and placed it in a separate document box. Not next to the home purchase contract, not with the debt clearing confirmation. It didn't belong with the losses, but it wasn't quite part of the healing either. Liza had finally understood that an apology isn't for earning forgiveness. It's to prove you're no longer the same person who caused the pain. I no longer wake up in the middle of the night to check my bank account, like I did in those first few months after the incident. But I still keep weekly credit alerts turned on. I still store hard copies of every legal document related to the case in my personal safe, along with digital backups in a separate drive. Not because I'm afraid, but because I've learned. Trust can be rebuilt, but it should never be rebuilt blindly. One autumn morning, while I was peeling apples in the kitchen, Sam looked at me and said, "Do you know what I admire most about you?" I tilted my head, expecting something lighthearted. But Sam was serious. It's not your strength. It's that you didn't let the hurt turn you bitter. You still love, you still trust. But this time, you chose the right person to open your heart to. I didn't say anything. I just picked up a slice of apple, took a small bite, and smiled. My new life isn't a fairy tale ending. I still go to work every day, still check the budget, still argue with Sam about whether we really need a dishwasher. But I live lighter now, because I no longer carry the weight of having to forgive, to accept, or to endure, just because of the word family. I used to think money was the most valuable thing I had, but now I know. What's harder to reclaim is confidence in your own integrity and the boundaries you're willing to draw to protect it. My story doesn't end in reconciliation. It ends with a clear boundary, built from pain, growth, and a conscious choice. And sometimes saying enough is the most loving thing you can do for yourself. What do you think of Hope's decision? Should she fully forgive Eliza? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to follow the channel for more real and emotional stories about family, pain, and growth.